Hey, it's your old cousin Jack once again with another episode of Woodcarving Weekly. Today I'm going to tell you how I was wrong. Been wrong for years. Yeah. And I'm going to talk a little bit about an old timer named Harold who carves with inferior tools. And speaking of inferior tools, we'll talk about a video where a very skilled carver carves a face using nothing but a fishtail gouge, and the same carver using an axe, nothing else, just an axe to carve a wood spirit. We'll talk about wood finishes today, and we'll also spin around YouTube and see what we can see. Let's get started. I want to get started by recognizing Blake Lunsford and Bruce Ankeny. It was just announced that the two of them are the newest members of the CCA. That's the Caricature Carvers of America. It's quite an achievement, recognizing two very, very skilled carvers who also contribute to the wood carving community. Congratulations to both of you, Blake and Bruce. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of carvings in the future. Well, let's talk about a man named Gabriel, who was born in Austria in 1864, later immigrated to the United States and became an engineer and American citizen. He developed a test to check the hardness of wood for construction projects as an engineer would want to. There was no real standardized way of measuring that hardness prior to the measure that he developed, and it was named after him. And you may have heard me talk about the Janka Hardness test, or the Janka Hardness Scale, which comes from the test. Here's the problem. See, he was born in Austria, where the primary language would be German. And his last name is not pronounced Janka. In German, his name would be pronounced Janka. And so it's the Janka Hardness test, and it's the Janka Hardness Scale. And I've been saying it wrong for quite a while. The test helps to measure that hardness of wood for construction projects. It's also used in the flooring industry to test hardwood floor materials because you want a flooring material that doesn't dent very easily. The test consists of applying force or pounds of pressure to a little metal ball, like a 10 millimeter ball, into the side of a piece of wood until it gets into that piece of wood halfway through. Well, basswood, for example, has a measure of 410 pounds of force. Now, it can get confusing if you're looking at the scale, because in some countries it's measured as kilograms of force, and in other countries it's sometimes measured as newtons. A newton is also a measure of force. So I'm going to put a link in the description below that will take you to one of the scales that shows both pounds of force and newtons, so you can see how they're expressed in different ways. Anyway, basswood is a very popular soft wood for carving, and the hardest wood on the scale, at least currently, is Australian bull oak, which measures over 5,000 pounds of force. That's just basically taking a full-sized SUV and putting that pressure on that metal ball to get it halfway into the side of that Australian bull oak. So take a look at the scale, see what other woods are soft enough that you might want to use them for a carving project. And next week we'll talk a little bit more about selecting different woods, because it's not just the softness or the hardness of the wood, it's also the workability. Well, some of you may know Tim Peavy from We Folk Carvings. He does a lot of walking sticks and other carvings, and Tim has a YouTube channel where he has posted some videos now and then, not too frequently. One day Tim was at his local carving club meeting, and there's a gentleman there, an old timer named Harold, who was working on a piece of basswood carving a face. And Tim used his phone to record some video. There's a two-part video, actually, of Harold doing this carving. And during this carving, you see Harold basically talking about some of the tools that he's got that he made. For example, he's got a sort of a large V tool that he made from a plumber's snake. And he also uses a number 5 gouge that's made from a pair of scissors. Inferior tools is what he calls them. You see, these tools come from the Harold Enlow Inferior Tool Company. They're handmade. And the old timer doing the carving is none other than legend Harold Enlow. He's published at least 8 different wood carving books, has countless carvings that are highly prized in the carving community. And this is really rare footage. I can tell you, I have searched the internet looking for opportunities to watch Harold Enlow carve. And in this 2-part video, part 1, you can hear Harold talking about how he likes to go about carving a face, and you can watch him do it. It's amazing. He uses an economy of cuts to achieve what would take me forever. It's like magic, really. So I encourage you to take a look. Now in part 2, that's where you start to see him using the plumber's snake V tool and the number 5 gouge that he made from a pair of scissors. Still has the scissors handle on it, by the way. And there's a part of the video in part 2 where there's a bandsaw noise in the background. Someone at the carving club is using the bandsaw. So you might want to cut off the audio at that point, put on the captioning so you don't hear the bandsaw. So it's not great, right? The video is okay, and the audio in part 2 is not great. But this is a really rare video, I can tell you. Like I said, I have searched. It's worth taking a look. Enjoy. So, you know, we talked about Harold Enlow using his inferior tools. It's like he calls them. And you may have heard Bart Wilson from South Georgia say more than once, it's not the tool, it's the toolee. In other words, you can buy the most expensive tools that you can get your hands on, but if you're not a skilled carver, it's not going to matter. It's the toolee, not the tool. And this next carver helps to prove that. Kevin Coates is a guy who's been around for a while, has a YouTube channel, and on his channel he's got a couple of videos that you should take a look at. One of them is a time-lapse video where he carves a face, and I think he's using Eastern white pine. That's what he usually uses. He carves a face using nothing but a fishtail gouge. It's a time-lapse video that he puts some writing on the screen. He says the only purpose to this video is to see if I could do it. Well, I think he did it very well. It's an interesting video, and you can see a very skilled carver at work with a fishtail gouge. Now, I guess a year or so later, Kevin got the urge to see if he could carve a wood spirit into a kind of a tree branch, looks like log, and he wanted to use an axe. And so you will see him in this video, and I'll put both links, all the links today, in the description below. You'll see him carve a wood spirit using nothing but an axe head. And he does this. He uses that axe to carve in the whiskers for the mustache, the beard, even the eyebrows. Yeah. So have fun and enjoy. So yeah, you know, I was wrong about the pronunciation of Janka. And not surprisingly, I've been wrong about the pronunciation of the South Korean carver Ddalo, right? It's D-D-A-L-O. Well, he's from South Korea. So I went to the old internet machine and I put in D-D-A-L-O and I put in language Korean and said pronounce. Well, the computer says you pronounce the D's as if it was a T, as in Tom. So the correct pronunciation in Korean is Ddalo. We've got a video this week from Ddalo. It's a sort of a Halloween project. A little ghost figure wearing what looks like a Red Riding Hood sort of outfit. There are no arms or hands. Looks like it's a beginner-friendly video. And again, I'll put some links in the description below. So you're probably like me, you have a variety of different finishes that you may use on a carving depending upon the type of look that you're going for or the purpose that you're going for. For example, if you're carving a spoon, you might want a food-safe type of finish, right? If you're carving a caricature figure, it might be completely different. Sometimes I use antiquing medium, sometimes I don't. Well, Alec Lacasse has a video for us this time. He decides to test 5 different wood finishes. He's looking for durability in his video, so he takes these wood finishes, he's going to apply some to one single piece of wood and then apply some water to see how they hold up. So it's kind of interesting to see these different finishes, and he talks a little bit about how they look in addition to the durability, what he likes about them. Check out his video and see what you think. Well, this next story takes us all the way to New Zealand. There's a YouTube channel called Matt Carves. Matt, in his early years, became a self-taught painter. He later went on to the university and became, I guess you'd say he has a degree in a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Sculpture. And it shows up in his art. He has a lot of videos where he's done some power carving using primarily a rotary tool, a Dremel. And this week we have a carving that he did. It's a sort of a relief of a leaf. Matt shows you step by step how to carve one of these leaves, and then in addition to that, he does some painting and antiquing on the project. So I mentioned to Matt that I was going to put his video in this week's episode. He says, yes, please do. He's excited about it. So check the links in the description below and check out Matt Carves. Well, we talked a bit about Blake Lunsford earlier, and you may already know Blake and Dave Levy. They more or less handle all of the programming and video and everything else for the International Association of Woodcarvers YouTube channel and the Zoom meetings. If you didn't get a chance to go to the meeting last week, Rob Rangel put up a video that shows you how to transfer a pattern onto a piece of wood. In that video, Rob also does a little bit of painting and talks a lot about his sort of journey along the carving learning path. Something you can take a look at. And this week, of course, we will have some video from the CCA event out in Colorado, Carve in the Rockies. Something to look forward to for any of us who weren't able to get out there. And I have a new video too. So I have a Halloween project that I posted on my other channel, Cousin Jack Carves. And in that video, I explained to you how you can make one of these projects like this. This one happens to have a Halloween theme. It's a carving that enables you to have interchangeable parts and kind of create a toy. So if you're interested, it's the video right over here. I want to thank everybody for your support, and here's how you can help. If you would, take a second to hit that like button right below the video, and that'll help spread the news to other folks in the carving community. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.